Live from New Delhi, you're watching DD India Live, India's voice to the world. I am Deepika and coming up in the next 30 minutes. In Jammu and Kashmir, security forces kill 5 terrorists in Kulgam encounter. India's Home Minister Amit Shah calls high-level security meeting. US imposes new sanctions over Pakistan's long-range ballistic missile program. Islamabad terms the decision as unfortunate and biased. Republicans scrap government funding bill as Trump demands changes just before the deadline. European Council to discuss Ukraine aid, Syria's transition and foreign policy issues in Brussels summit. Good afternoon to all our viewers. You're watching DD India Live, and to begin with the latest. Now, 5 terrorists have been neutralized by the security forces during an ongoing gunfight in Kulgam district of India's Union Territory of Jammu and Kashmir. The operation was launched early this morning following specific intelligence about the presence of terrorists in the area. During the cordon and search operation, the terrorists opened fire, triggering a fierce exchange of gunfire. 2 security personnel also sustained injuries in the encounter who are currently undergoing treatment. The operation is still underway and further details are awaited. Now, police in North Kashmir's Kupwara district have carried out major operations against drug peddlers and traffickers in the past 1 year. In a briefing on Wednesday, SSP Kupwara district Ghulam Jilani said that police have registered 67 cases under the Narcotic Drugs and Psychotropic Substances Act 2024, resulting in the arrest of 103 individuals involved in drug peddling and trafficking. He also urged the public to remain vigilant and report any suspicious activity to the nearest police station.
3 के करीब लोग गिरफ्तार हो चुके हैं और 2-3 अभी वांटेड है हमें। कल रात को भी हमने एक अच्छा ऑपरेशन, ज्वाइंट ऑपरेशन आर्मी के साथ किया टंगार एरिया में, जिसमें हमने 4 पिस्टलें और करीब 4.25 kg ड्रग्स नारकोटिक्स के सीज किए हैं।
Now, the parliament premises on the penultimate day of the winter session witnessed high-voltage political drama. The BJP and the Congress, holding simultaneous protests, targeting each other over Union Home Minister Amit Shah's remarks on B.R. Ambedkar in the parliament. BJP MPs staged protests on parliament's premises, accusing Congress of misleading the public. On the other hand, Congress demanded the resignation of Union Home Minister. The Congress MP scaled the wall and the pushing to enter Parliament that led to the fall of an MP who was taken to the clinic inside the Parliament complex for first aid. Meanwhile, both the houses of the Indian Parliament have been adjourned till 2 p.m. according to Indian Standard Time, following the continuous uproar. And to give us the latest, I'm joined by DD India correspondent Anil Thomas straight from the Parliament. Good afternoon, Anil. What is the latest that you're tracking from the Parliament? We did see some of the scenes of ruckus inside the Parliament amidst the continuous uproar and protests. Anil.
Well, good afternoon, Deepika. Well, this particular winter session of Parliament started with Adani, Soros, and now it's come to the B.R. Ambedkar row that's taking center stage. After that, let me give you a small flashback on how it all transpired. It started with that 2-day discussion on the 75 glorious years of the drafting of the Constitution that took place in the lower house and upper house. In the upper house, Home Minister Amit Shah made a statement which the Treasury benches claim has been, cut or rather edited not in a proper fashion, and that's where the Congress is playing politics over it. Congress claims it's an insult to B.R. Ambedkar, and that's why they demand an apology on the floor of the House publicly by the Home Minister. Prime Minister has come in full support. So today was the day we saw that Congress in the morning, every morning in the winter session of Parliament has held protest just outside the Parliament premises. That particular gate, as you see, between the 2 gates, that's where they generally hold their protests in the morning. So BJP today came and took over that position, and BJP held a strong protest against the Congress for disrespecting B.R. Ambedkar for a very long time. And the Congress too joined the chorus And then it became a cacophony of sounds. You could hear the Congress MP shouting, the BJP MP shouting. In the whole process, there was a bit of pushing and jostling that took place. The Congress MPs, the opposition MPs were trying to enter the parliament. The BJP MPs were there at the gate. And in that process, we had an MP from the BJP, Pratap Sarangi, who fell down and injured his head. He's now been taken to RML hospital, where senior ministers from the cabinet are visiting to take a stock of the situation, especially when it comes to the injury that he sustained. But all in all, this particular winter session of parliament, especially what happened, an ugly, demonstration that took place in the citadel of democracy that the world is watching, clearly will leave, some bad memories, especially for the parliamentarians, for the media covering it, and also for the world.
Now, amid all of this, Anil, the Union Law Minister is also expected to move the motion to pass the One Nation, One Election bill. Fill us in with more details about this, Anil.
Well, on that particular front, since not much has happened, especially inside Parliament, before Parliament started, the confusion or the demonstrations that were held outside Parliament clearly indicated that, the opposition was in no mood to relent. The opposition was gung-ho that they have managed to get, something, where they could bargain, where they could, put the treasury benches or the government on the back foot. I think the government played smart. The government came out, lock, stock and barrel, taking on the opposition today in this face-off. And I think Congress was not ready for it. They were surprised, they were stung, and, they exactly didn't know what's to be done. So once that happened, not much was expected to happen inside Parliament. And that's what's transpired to now. The morning has been a start where the chairman in the upper house made a statement. And beyond that, too much of protest, too much of sounds, and both houses of Parliament have been at least adjourned till 2 p.m. So not much of headway expected there, but I think the mood and the tenor that both the government and the opposition have been showing, especially outside Parliament, is surely going to reflect inside Parliament. And I think, it's winter season, but it's frosty relations that are actually, inside Parliament. That's a cause of concern, especially because we are in the penultimate day of this winter session of Parliament. We need that joint parliamentary committee thing to move forward. And, but the way things are moving, we don't see that happen.
All
at least
right.
for today.
Thank you so much, Anil, for joining us and bringing us the latest straight from the Parliament in New Delhi. Now, a joint parliamentary committee has been formed to review the Constitution Amendment Bill that seeks to amend the Constitution to allow for simultaneous federal and state elections. Now, the bill, which is a part of the One Nation, One Election initiative, will be reviewed by 31 parliamentarians, including 21 members of the parliament from the lower house, which is the Lok Sabha of the Indian Parliament, and 10 from the upper house, which is the Rajya Sabha of the Indian Parliament. Now, while BJP's P.P. Chaudhary will lead the committee, the JPC will also submit a report to the Lok Sabha on the first day of last week of next session of the Parliament. One Nation, One Election aims at reducing costs and improving governance. The timeline for implementing the bill suggests that the appointed date will follow the next Lok Sabha election in 2029, with simultaneous elections scheduled to begin in 2034. From this point, the Lok Sabha's tenure will be fixed at 5 years, and state assemblies elected thereafter will have their terms and concurrently with the Lok Sabha's term as well. Moving on, at least 13 people were killed and 99 rescued after an Indian Navy speedboat crashed into a ferry off the Mumbai coast on Wednesday. According to official statement, the Indian Navy craft lost control while undertaking engine trials in Mumbai harbour due to engine malfunction. As a result, the boat collided with a passenger ferry that subsequently capsized. The ferry was transporting passengers from Gateway of India to Elephanta Island. Now, the deceased include a naval officer and 2 people from the original equipment manufacturer on board the naval craft. An inquiry has also been initiated to determine the exact cause of the incident. Prime Minister Narendra Modi expressed grief over the mishap. In a social media post on X, he said, and I quote, "Condolences to the bereaved families. I pray that the injured recover soon. Those affected are being assisted by the authorities." An ex gratia of 2 lakh rupees from PMNRF for the next of kin of each deceased in the Mumbai boat mishap has been allocated. The injured would be given 50,000 rupees. Unquote. Defence Minister Rajnath Singh too expressed condolences over social media post. He said, and I quote him, deeply saddened by the loss of precious lives in the collision between passenger ferry and Indian Navy craft in Mumbai harbour. Injured personnel, including naval personnel and civilians from both vessels, are receiving urgent medical care. Unquote. Now, India and Liberia have agreed for support of their UNSC non-permanent seat candidatures for the year 2028-29 on reciprocal basis. The two nations held first round of Foreign Office consultations on Tuesday in Liberia's capital, Monrovia. During the FOC, both the sides undertook a comprehensive review of the entire gamut of India-Liberia bilateral relations, encompassing key areas of bilateral cooperation, including trade, investment, mining, agriculture, health and pharmaceutical, education, capacity building and people-to-people exchanges. In the meetings, the Liberian ministers expressed their deep appreciation for India's efforts in making the African Union a permanent member of the G20. The next round of Foreign Office consultations will be held in New Delhi. 28 Indian fishermen from Tamil Nadu's Tirunelveli district have returned home following successful diplomatic efforts that led to their early release from detention in Bahrain. The fishermen, who were arrested in the month of September, had their 6-month sentence reduced to 3 months following a swift legal appeal. Throughout their detention, the Indian Embassy in Bahrain provided comprehensive support, including consular assistance and basic necessities, while facilitating communication between the fishermen and their families. Time to take a short break, but still to come on DD India Live. Britain announces additional £225 million of military equipment to Ukraine. UN envoy to Syria calls for free and fair elections after the ouster of President Bashar al-Assad. And in sports, Indian women team all set to take on the West Indies in the third and final T20I today.
Pollution of all types across the globe is a huge problem. But what is the solution to this? Does it require individual efforts, community action, or state interference? Let's take a look at some of the possibilities, challenges, and opportunities.
They have to segregate their waste, manage their organic waste within their premises as far as possible. They have to hand over the rest of the waste, the residual waste, to the authorized waste collector.
When the local administration saw what I had done, it decided to build the drainage system you see here, connecting the whole area to it.
Trees are our lifesavers. They give us oxygen, and it's unfair to harm them by hammering iron nails into them just for the sake of ads.
Welcome back. After that short break, you're watching DD India Live. Now, the United States has imposed new sanctions related to Pakistan's long-range ballistic missile program, including on the state-owned defense agency that oversees the program. Now, State Department spokesperson Matthew Miller in a statement said that the measures slapped on the National Development Complex and 3 firms were imposed under an executive order that targets proliferators of weapons of mass destruction and their means of delivery. The sanctions are part of the ongoing US efforts to curb the spread of missile technology and prevent further escalation of the global proliferation threat. As a result of these sanctions, the entities involved will face financial and trade restrictions, including being cut off from the US markets and resources. The US government has stated that these measures are necessary to address the growing risk associated with the development of long-range ballistic missiles in Pakistan. Now, Pakistan's foreign ministry said in a statement that the US action was unfortunate and biased and would harm regional stability. The 27 leaders of the European Union are on Thursday meeting in Brussels for a one-day summit with a remarkably busy agenda that will touch upon Russia-Ukraine conflict, Syria's transition of power, continued protests in Georgia, new ways to reinvent migration policy, and the survival guide for the upcoming Donald Trump administration. It marks the first summit chaired by Antonio Costa since he assumed the presidency of the European Council on the 1st of December as part of the bloc's new legislative cycle. Updates on the Russia-Ukraine conflict now. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky on Wednesday met with his French counterpart Emmanuel Macron in Brussels on the sidelines of a European Union Western Balkans summit. Now, during their meeting, both the leaders discussed on possible deployment of French troops in Ukraine as a means to help achieve a stable peace. The meeting comes at a crucial time as Ukraine urges its allies to strengthen support both on the battlefield and diplomatically before any potential talks with Russia. Taking to X, Zelensky said that Ukraine and France share a common vision that is reliable guarantees are essential for a peace that can truly be achieved. He further said that Kyiv is working on President Macron's initiative regarding the presence of forces in Ukraine that could contribute to stabilizing the path to peace. Now, Britain announced on Thursday that it would send an additional £225 million or 286 million US dollars of military equipment to Ukraine. The package includes £92 million for equipment to bolster Ukraine's navy, £68 million for air defense equipment, including radars, decoy, land equipment, and counter-drone electronic warfare systems. £26 million to provide support and spare parts for systems previously delivered to Ukraine, £39 million to provide more than 1,000 counter-drone electronic warfare systems, and for joint procurement of respirators and equipment to enhance the protective capabilities of Ukraine's armed forces. Britain also said that it would offer more military training to Ukraine. The World Bank too approved $2.05 billion US dollars fund to Ukraine on Wednesday. The newly allocated funds from the World Bank includes the first grant from a new $20 billion US dollar loan fund for Kyiv that is backed by income from frozen Russian sovereign assets. Now, the new package aimed at boosting Ukraine's financial and economic stability also includes World Bank financing of $1.5 billion that is enhanced with loan guarantees from a trust fund supported by Japan and Britain. Now, US President-elect Donald Trump urged Republican lawmakers on Wednesday to scupper a cross-party deal to avert a fast-looming US government shutdown. Now, staring down a Friday night deadline to fund federal agencies, party leaders in Congress had agreed on a continuing resolution to keep the lights on until mid-March and avoid having to send public workers home without pay over Christmas. Trump holds huge sway over Republicans, and his intervention makes it almost certain that the bill will fail. But the compromise was pillared by numerous Republicans, most notably tech billionaire Elon Musk, whom Trump has charged with slashing government spending in his second term. In a joint statement, Trump and Vice President-elect J.D. Vance suggested that concessions to Democrats were a betrayal of the country. They would be against any package that does not include an extension to the federal borrowing limit, which the country is on track to hit just as Republicans take total control of Congress in January. The current federal debt is $36.2 trillion US dollars, and Congress has raised the limit more than 100 times to allow the government to meet its spending commitments. The next extension was not part of the shutdown negotiations, and the demand took the lawmakers by surprise. Now, government departments and services, from national parks to border control, will begin shuttering Saturday unless an agreement is reached. In the United States, Democrats currently control the Senate, and Democratic President Joe Biden remains in power until Trump takes office on the 20th of January in the coming year. Now, the current bill would fund government agencies at current levels and provide $100 billion for disaster relief and $10 billion in farm aid. It also includes a wide range of unrelated provisions, such as a pay raise for lawmakers and a crackdown on hidden hotel fee. Meanwhile, Democrats have said Trump's statement was a sign of chaos ahead, as many Republicans already object to additional spending and unrelated provisions that have been added to the package.
Have now unilaterally decided to break a bipartisan agreement that they made. House Republicans have been ordered to shut down the government and hurt everyday Americans all across this country. House Republicans will now own any harm that is visited upon the American people that results from a government shutdown or worse. An agreement is an agreement. It was bipartisan.
Now, after Assad's ouster from his more than a decade of rule, global diplomatic attention has shifted towards Syria, and they have enhanced efforts for peace and stability in the war-torn nation. Suggestions are pouring in from the United Nations headquarters to member nations, ranging from holding democratic elections to the removal of rebels from the US list of terrorist individuals and organizations. Rebels too are coming forward to engage with world capitals, but much will depend upon whether they ensure rights to minorities and women to grab the global help and support. Here's a report by DD India's Akhilesh Suman. Take a look.
With a view to transform the nation from an authoritarian to a modern democratic dispensation, the United Nations has urged Syria's new rulers to hold free and fair elections.
There is a lot of hope that we can now see the beginning of a new Syria. A new Syria that, in line with Security Council Resolution 2254, will adopt a new constitution that will ensure that it is a social contract, a new social contract for all Syrians, and that we will have free and fair elections.
The UN suggestion is to accommodate several rebel groups in Syria through a democratic process, making a UN-monitored solution potentially more effective. Turkey's President Erdogan has urged the US and other nations to lift sanctions on Hayat Tahrir al-Sham, popularly known as HTS, and remove the group from the terrorist list. HTS was previously linked to Al-Qaeda, but severe ties with the terrorist network in later years. US Secretary of State Anthony Blinken has cautioned HTS to learn from the Taliban's continued global isolation due to its rigid religious views and refusal to adopt democratic and liberal policies for Afghan citizens, minorities and women. France is working to mediate between Turkey and the Kurds in northeastern Syria. French Foreign Minister Jean-Noël Barrot said on Wednesday that the Kurds must be part of any political transition process. Visiting UN humanitarian chief Tom Fletcher called for a significant boost in aid for Syria, noting that 7 in 10 people require urgent assistance due to dire living conditions. As part of his visit, Fletcher met with the representatives of the HTS, including its leader Ahmed al-Shara and interim Prime Minister Mohammed al-Bashir. Positive feedback from these meetings has raised hope about the group's willingness to engage constructively. Another pressing issue in Syria is the desire of millions of Syrian refugees abroad to return to their homeland after years of displacement. They are around 7 million in number and scattered across countries like Turkey, Germany, Iraq, Lebanon, Jordan, Egypt, and even Austria. However, the UN has urged them to regulate their return, advocating a gradual and organized process. A positive sign is that the rebels who are now in control of the war-torn nation appear to be accepting the realities of governance and international expectations. They have accepted they are exhausted from years of conflict and seem open to external advice. In a symbolic development, the country's new administration has kept key institutions running, with a commercial flight departing from Damascus airport to Aleppo on Wednesday, the first since Assad's removal and his subsequent flight to Russia. With HTS stepping up diplomatic contacts with countries that once viewed Assad as a pariah and establishing a transitional leadership that will govern the country until March 1st, hopes are rising that Syria will embrace modern governance while avoiding obstructionist sectarian laws. So the international community is watching closely how Syria will navigate this critical transition. Akhilesh Suman's report for DD India.
Meanwhile, the United Nations envoy to Syria called on Wednesday for free and fair elections after the ouster of the President Bashar al-Assad and expressed hope for a political solution for Kurdish-held areas. Calling for immediate humanitarian assistance, UN Special Envoy Chair Pedersen said he hoped to see an end to international sanctions levied against Syria over Assad's abuses. On to business news now. The US central banks have cut interest rates by 25 basis points for a third time, despite concerns that the move will deliver a boost to the economy that risks inflation. The Fed cut rates by 25 basis points to the 4.25% to 4.5% range, and its summary of economic projections indicated that it will make rate cuts totaling a half percentage point by the end of 2025. The Fed's 19 policymakers projected that they will cut their benchmark rate by a quarter point just twice in 2025, down from their previous estimate in September of 4 rate cuts. Into sports now. India will take on West Indies in the third and final T20I in the 3-match series at Navi Mumbai on Thursday. With the series tied at 1-1 currently, the third match is the virtual decider, with India hoping to make amends at home after the recent disappointment of losing an ODI series in Australia. Now, India won the opening encounter by 49 runs. However, West Indies bounced back in the second match, defeating the hosts by 9 wickets. And a day after announcing his retirement from international cricket, Ravichandran Ashwin received a warm welcome after he arrived at his residence in Chennai on Thursday. India celebrated off spinner Ravichandran Ashwin revealed his decision to retire from international cricket moments after the Brisbane Test ended in a draw on Wednesday. The Chennai-born player expressed his thoughts and said that it is a great sense of relief and satisfaction for him after taking a call to say goodbye to international cricket. And before we let you go, India's public service broadcaster Prasar Bharati has recently launched Waves, entering the field of OTT. Now, Waves provides a complete infotainment ecosystem to digital media and OTT audiences. If you also want great content for free, then download Waves today. We'll be back with more news as it breaks here on DD India. I'm Deepika, and from all of us here in New Delhi, thank you so much for watching DD India Live. Namaskar.